Okay, now if you've been considering, I don't know, a Fiat 500 or a Kia Picanto, but thought, they're just a bit big, aren't they? Maybe this is the car for you. Now, if you don't know what this is, that's totally okay. You're in the majority of humans. If you do know what this is, what's with keeping secrets, guys? Because apparently the Suzuki Alto Works is an incredible car. Or is it? How about we find out? Now, if this is your first ReDriven video, to put you in the picture here, we normally do like deep dive reviews that can sometimes go for like 20 minutes on used cars. But as there are hardly any of these on Australian roads, and honestly, physically, there's just not a whole lot of car here, welcome to basically an express review. We're going to still be covering heaps of stuff, but just faster. In fact, you could even say that this review is like the Suzuki Alto Works of car reviews. Small, compact, and full of value. Now, the Alto name has been around since the late 1970s, but this is the 2014 to 2021 8th generation, and in the very top spec performance-focused Works variant, which is powered by a fire-breathing, turbocharged 658cc 3-cylinder mated to a 5-speed manual transmission. However, an automated manual is also available, but just trust me, stick with the manual. Now look, I know those power figures in the graphic don't seem all that impressive, but the thing is, this only weighs 690 kilos, so its power to weight ratio is about the same as a 1.5 litre Toyota Yaris. So like, not too shabby in something that's about the same size as a medium fridge. Now, speaking of dimensions, I'm exactly the same height as Ryan Reynolds, and I can do this. Like, I'm quite literally hugging the car, and my hands are wrapped around the wheel arches. That's amazing. Now look, obviously these videos cost money to make with equipment and paying for food and petrol and all that sort of stuff. And like you, we have bills to pay. And the way we do that is thanks to our partners, Driver and WIPERTECH. But like these guys, they can help you too. Starting with Driver. By clicking the link down there, you can finance your next car through Driver. The entire process is done easily online. You can choose which finance package works best for you. There's no hidden fees. You can even finance a grey import like this. And also by clicking that link, you're going to get $150 worth of free fuel next time you finance your car. And then the best wipers we have ever used, WIPERTECH. Order them easily online, get them delivered to your door. They're easy to install, and they'll wipe rain off your windscreen faster than bills wipe the smiles off our face. Plus, hit the link down there and get 15% off and free express shipping. Okay, now let's talk looks. Personally, I think this is stunning. I'll go as far as saying it's almost a piece of art. Also, there's a huge tuning scene for these. In fact, the guys at Go Garage that lent us this car, they've got like a highly tuned one. Here's some photos of that, see what you think. So there's like all the opportunities to make them look even better or potentially worse, depending on your taste. Okay, then we come to the TBTL factor. TBTL is the turn back to look. It's basically when you're walking away from a car, you've locked it and you look back and go, yeah. I give this, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to give it a 9. That's how good the TBTL is. What do you guys think? What TBTL factor do you give the Alto Works? But here's an important question, because I'm the same height as Ryan Reynolds, can I get into this without hurting myself? Easy, no dramas. Also, the doors, well, they open up to like nearly 90 degrees, so it's the opening aperture is huge. Now, once I'm in, remember I'm exactly the same height as Ryan Reynolds. I was expecting to be feeling all cramped and crushed in here, but like, it's really spacious. There are some weird things, like the door is just here, like just there. And if I do this, I'm now touching the entire other side of the car. So it does feel small, but you don't feel claustrophobic at all. And that's amazing because everything is dark plastic in here. Now the overall ambience inside here, or ambiance inside here, look, obviously it's no Bentley, it's not, you're not expecting that, but it does feel more expensive or higher quality than what it is. So like everything's like a hard, scratchy plastic, but because of the textures they've used, it looks, I'm not going to say expensive, but more premium. I was expecting it to feel like a really cheap little box of rubbish, but it feels pretty cool in here. Just backtracking to ergonomics for a second, one thing that has annoyed me, there's like a little cubbyhole storage spot here, but the problem is when you're driving, my elbow sits directly in there and it bloody hurts. But it wouldn't be hard to make up like a little foam leather lined, I suppose, pouch, concaved, conversed pouch there just to kind of rest your arm on, because that is painful. Now, practicality up front, It's okay. You've got door bins, but they're really only for things that have 2 dimensions. Spot perfectly sized for your phone just here. Weird storage hole here. I don't know what you'd fit in there. Maybe if you crush down like a can of Red Bull, it might kind of fit there. You've got another spot down here which sort of kind of fits a phone. Decent sized glove box here. Cup holder here. 2 cup holders here. And that's it for practicality. Now in the back seat, as I mentioned, I'm the same height as Ryan Reynolds. This is in my driving position. Look at this. Like, this car, honestly, is about the same size as a spa bath, and I have so much leg room. Like, this has got more leg room than some SUVs. Not only that, like, again, it's tiny, but you never feel claustrophobic. And the seats, like, it looks completely flat, but whatever squidgy foam they're using is actually quite comfortable. Also, put the headrest up. Like, this is nice. Even footroom. This has more footroom than most of the cars we review. I can't get over how much space is in the back of this thing. Incredible. As far as practicality in the back butt, you've got little spots for life's filth. That's it. Obviously you can share the cup holders in the front, but then that creates an argument with the front passengers. Now with the back seats in place, you have enough room for a couple of backpacks or maybe a large overnight bag. But with the rear seats down, again, you've got a pretty decent amount of space in here. In fact, some of these are available without a back seat at all. They're kind of technically like a little van. I'm blown away at how practical this is for such a tiny car. Amazing. Now, obviously being a tiny little nugget of a city car, it isn't exactly drenched in tech and features, but it does have everything you need and just a little bit more. Aircon, auto xenon headlights, fog lights, Recaro seats, steering wheel controls, Koni suspension and Enki rims. Now, being a Japanese import, you might want to fit Apple CarPlay and Android Auto with an aftermarket system because most of these native systems will only speak to you in Japanese. Great if you speak Japanese, not so much if you don't. But fitting Apple CarPlay, Android Auto with aftermarket stuff, super easy. Also, maybe update the speakers too because they sound a bit crap. Now, safety-wise, look, honestly, you really wouldn't want to have an argument with anything larger than a Toyota Corolla, but it does have airbags, ABS, traction and stability control, seatbelts, and immense self-esteem. Okay, so what's it like to drive? Let's get the boring stuff out of the road first. Driving around like a built-up city metropolitan area, this thing is an absolute dream. Parking it, a breeze, obviously because it's tiny, which is great. Zipping in and out of traffic, amazing. The only negative in like a built-up metro area is that like if a Toyota RAV4 drives close to you, it feels like a semi-trailer is driving close to you. Because it's so small, it's a little bit intimidating in here. But for where this car is designed to perform, nails that criteria. Now let's get into the fun stuff. First of all, power. I'm pretty confident the guys at Go Garage have maybe massaged this ECU a little bit because it's quick. Like, here we go. Like, it's not so much power, it's more torque. Like, it's got this like muscular kind of mid-range torque going on, but then it kind of revs out really nicely as well. I think it's one of those classic cars that it feels like we're not actually going that fast. That was up to the speed limit, but it feels so much faster than what you're going because like outside is just on the other side of that. And then I was expecting it to feel cheap and nasty in here with how many hard plastics are in here, but there's no rattles, no squeaks, it sounds tight. Now, handling wise, it always feels alive and energetic and exciting because the wheels are like at the absolute furthest perimeter of the car. Like when you're going through corners, it's just like there's so much communication and it's just fun all of the time. So we're coming up to a roundabout here, which I'm doing like well under the speed limit, but it feels like I'm coming in at like 200 kilometers an hour. Here we go. It's so good. Then you've got the gear change. I feel like the guys at Suzuki just went, oh, well, let's just find like a Porsche GT3 manual gearbox and put that shift feel in this. Surely it must have like a short shift kit because it is so tight and so like notchy and, oh man, it's good. Even like the suspension, this is on like aftermarket coilovers, but it's never harsh, it's never crashy. I thought hitting like potholes or any ripples in the road would really upset it because it's so tiny and light, but it doesn't. Like it kind of absorbs the bumps. It's always kind of bouncy and again energetic. It's like the car equivalent of like a little puppy in a park racing after a frisbee or a ball. It's just always like alive, but again, it makes it fun. It's never tiring. And then the steering, like not only is the steering fantastic around town, like it's not too light, not too heavy, but it's calibrated so well to the entire sort of setup of the car. Like, there's actual communication coming through the wheel. I think because the wheels and tires are so small, there's not a lot of power assistance. So it feels, dare I say it, like first and like NA, NB, MX5 good. Look, overall, what's this thing like to drive? It's almost like the perfect modern version of a classic Mini Cooper S. Like, if Suzuki had bought the rights to Mini back when BMW bought the rights to Mini, I feel like this would be their interpretation of like a 1967, 1968 Mini Cooper S. It has all of those same kind of characteristics. It's alive all the time, it's fun, great amount of performance for the size of the car. It's utterly brilliant. It's actually, you know what, it's like halfway between an old school, perfectly set up, meticulously restored Mini Cooper S and a really good motorbike. That's what it's like to drive. Now, when it comes to owning these, look, they were designed from the ground up to be affordable, and Suzuki claims a fuel consumption figure of just over 4 litres per 100 Ks. But on top of that, because it is so incredibly light, it's light on its consumables, and also the wheels and tyres, the tyres especially, they're so small they're going to be cheap, but you hardly ever even go through them because the whole car's super light. But maybe a quick warning here, these are a Japanese import, so even though they do share a few mechanical components with other Suzukis, a lot of stuff, especially body panels, are exclusive to this car. So if you do, have someone run into you, or you do need something mechanical done, chances are you're going to have to go to Japan for those parts, and that can take time and can cost money. Also, not only sourcing the parts from Japan, but the car itself is a grey import, and that can bring with it risks, because there are some unscrupulous, that's the word? Yeah. Grey importers out there. We've heard horror stories like winding odometers back by changing the entire gauge cluster, falsifying documents. If you are going to get one of these, or really any grey import, go and see the guys at Go Garage. They are awesome. They lend us this car. They do a fantastic job. Be careful of dodgy operators. If you want to see what cars they have in stock, hit the link down there. Okay, now what goes wrong with them, starting with the exterior, and honestly, the interior. Because these are still relatively new and they're made in Japan and they're very simple, as far as the exterior and interior goes, not a whole lot goes wrong. There are like the very, very odd reports of like electronic gremlins, like some door lock actuators and the adjustable mirrors and stuff, like kind of playing up a little bit, but honestly, not what we would call common. But what goes wrong with them mechanically? I can't tell you because I'm not a qualified mechanic, but Jim is.
Okay, not really much to talk about here, even after a really deep dive. Very few problems, occasionally some oil consumption issues, which seems to be more prevalent on poorly serviced items. There are a couple of very minor turbo complications, again, not very common, and there were also a couple of reports on timing chain rattles, but again, mostly on poorly serviced items. Not a common problem at all. So mechanically, if ever there was a manufacturer that could make reliable small engines, it's going to be someone who makes millions of motorbike engines. So yeah, very reliable.
Okay, so look, should you buy one? Well, that kind of depends on what you need a car to do. If you're doing huge distances up and down a freeway, or need a car to dominate drag or roll races, or maybe you need to tow a large caravan, or maybe go hardcore off-roading, absolutely not. Do not buy this car. It's going to fail miserably with what you require. But if you live in a busy city with hardly any parking, and you want to have the maximum amount of fun anytime you drive while still being financially responsible, and you need a form of transport that doesn't fall over, can carry more than a backpack, and avoids the annoyance of getting cold and wet that comes with a motorbike, my God, yes, you should buy one of these. Plus, like, if you identify as a man, nothing screams that I'm confident with my sexuality and my manhood like driving a tiny, funky car like this. Now guys, a couple of questions for you. Firstly, would you buy one of these, or would you stick to one of the more, I suppose, popular or familiar city cars? And also, do you like this format of review, this kind of express review? Because we might be doing a few more of them. What do you think we should do? Let us know in the comments. See you next time. But here's a very important question. Can I get into this without being ruined by some on the ramp? Also, not only just... Also...